I'd love it if you subscribe to the channel and like this video. My goal is to reach the first 1,000 subscribers. Thank you and enjoy. Before I tell you what happened, here's the practical point of this story. Disrespect rarely shows up with a flashing sign. It shows up as small schedule mistakes, cold tone, little digs, and a new set of rules you didn't agree to. If you keep chasing explanations, you end up financing someone else's freedom while you're walking on eggshells in your own house. The focus here is simple: how to spot the early shift, how to stop feeding the push-pull, and how to protect your time, your money, and your peace without turning your home into a theater. No speeches, no begging, just calm decisions and clean consequences. The third time that week, Nicole came home and went straight to the shower. I stood in the hallway and just stared at the closed bathroom door like it had personally offended me. We had routines, real ones. I'd leave early, she'd leave a little later. Our kid would get breakfast, backpack, and the usual "Dad, you're forgetting my folder" drama. Normal week. That's what I thought I was living. But that night, same pattern: front door, purse tossed on the kitchen chair, shoes kicked off like she was checking into a hotel, and then she beelined for the bathroom. The door shut hard. Water started running. I knocked once, not angry, just done pretending this was normal. "Nicole," I called through the door. "You coming like a pit stop? What's going on?" Her voice came back flat. "I'm tired. I want to freshen up. Don't interrogate me." I let out a small laugh because it was either that or say something I didn't need on my conscience. "I'm not a detective. I'm your husband. There's a difference." Water stopped. A beat. Then the door opened and she stepped out in a robe, hair wet, expression like she was looking at a stranger who'd wandered into her house. "You always look for problems," she said, like she was reading it off a card. I nodded once. "No, I'm just noticing changes." She narrowed her eyes. "You're being dramatic." I held her gaze. "I'm being awake." She walked past me, shoulder brushing mine on purpose, and headed to the bedroom without another word. And right there, in that quiet little hallway, I made a decision that saved me months of nonsense. From now on, I deal in facts. Not moods. Not guilt. Facts. If I'd known where it was headed, I would have started writing things down sooner. The next morning I left for work the same way I always did, coffee in hand, projects on my mind. She was going to the office. That's what she'd said. But when I got home, she came in late with that face that meant, "Don't touch me. Don't ask me. Don't exist too loudly." She dropped her bag on the counter without looking at me. "Long day. You could at least be quieter." I didn't raise my voice. I didn't play the wounded husband. I just leaned against the sink and said, "I'm home. And I'm not furniture." She smirked like I'd delivered a bad joke. "Oh, here we go." "Yeah," I replied, calm. "Here we go." That was the first open loop in my head. What exactly is she doing with her time? Second loop. Why is she acting like I'm the problem for noticing? Third loop. What does she want me to do? Apologize for being present? I wasn't going to chase her around my own house, trying to earn basic respect. That's not marriage. That's a subscription service. By Friday, I got my answer on Chujori territory, on the parking lot of my office, under the ugly fluorescent lights, where nobody gets to hide behind. "You're overreacting." I was eating lunch alone again, staring at my phone more than my food. Ray walked up. Ray's the kind of guy who doesn't ask, "How are you?" unless he actually wants the truth. Former military, current project lead, speaks in straight lines. He nodded at my phone. "You've eaten alone 3 days in a row. Everything good at home?" I shrugged like it didn't matter. "Home's on quiet mode. I'm observing." Ray snorted. "Observe closely. Silence is also an answer." I looked at him. "You think so?" "I know so," he said, then pointed at my chest with a fork like it was a pen. "Don't explain yourself to cold behavior. Adjust your plan." That landed. Not because he was wise. Because he was right. So I did what I always do when something stops making sense. I took control of what I could control. That night, I didn't ask Nicole what she wanted for dinner. I cooked for me and our kid. Chicken, rice, vegetables. Normal food. Calm house. The kid told me about school. I listened. I packed lunch for the next day. I cleaned up. I put the kid to bed. I didn't wait for Nicole to wander in and bless us with her presence. She came in at 9:30, watched me put a plate in the dishwasher like I'd committed a crime. "You didn't save me anything?" she asked. I didn't even look up. "I assumed you ate." Her mouth tightened. "So now you're punishing me." I turned to face her. "No, I'm living. There's a difference." She tossed her keys on the counter. I work too, Turner. I know, I replied. That's why it's strange you've been at work, while your schedule looks like a mystery tour. Her eyes flicked for half a second. Too fast, too sharp. What's that supposed to mean? It means, I said evenly, I'm not doing the guessing game. She stepped closer. You're being controlling. I actually laughed this time. Not loud. Just enough to show I heard the absurdity. Control would be me trying to stop you. I'm not stopping you. I'm just not rearranging myself around you. She opened her mouth, then closed it, like she couldn't decide which script to use. That was new. Nicole liked scripts. She liked predictable reactions. I wasn't giving her one. Over the next few days, I moved the pieces quietly. First, I separated our schedules. I stopped texting, "What time will you be home?" I stopped asking, "Are we doing dinner as a family?" I made plans for our kids' pickup and activities like I was the only reliable adult in the building. Because lately I was. Second, I separated access. Not with petty nonsense. With reality. My paycheck went into a different account. Not as a threat. As a boundary. The joint account still existed for bills and the kids' expenses. But the money that I worked for didn't need to be available for surprise workdays that ended in bank notifications from places that didn't match her stories. And I didn't announce it like a war. I just did it. Nicole noticed within 48 hours. She was on the couch, looking for something in her bag, and her phone lit up. A bank alert flashed. I didn't snatch the phone. I didn't lean in like a cartoon character. I caught a glimpse because she was sitting 3 feet from me and the brightness was turned up like a stadium screen. A restaurant name. A time. A number. It didn't fit stayed late at a meeting. I kept my face neutral. I filed it away. She looked up, caught my eyes, and for a moment she froze. Then she forced a casual tone. "Anyway," she said, "I need more freedom. You've been intense lately." I set my mug down. "Interesting." "What's interesting?" she snapped. "The fact you're asking for freedom like you've been in chains," I replied. "You've been coming and going as you please. What you want is no questions." She rolled her eyes. "There you go again. Making everything into a thing." I leaned back. "It is a thing when you bring the 'don't touch me' attitude home and then act shocked that I'm not clapping." She crossed her arms. "So what? You're just going to ignore me now?" "I hear you," I told her. "I just don't have to react the way you prefer." That line bothered her more than any shouting match ever could, because it removed her leverage. That weekend, she tried the first illusion of change. It was almost impressive. She woke up early, made pancakes, acted like we were in some commercial about happy families. She even touched my shoulder lightly as she walked by, like she was returning a borrowed item. "Morning," she said, voice sweet. "I know I've been stressed. I'm sorry if I've been short." I watched her pour syrup like she was auditioning for Wife of the Year. Our kid was smiling, happy. I wasn't going to ruin the kid's morning because Nicole had discovered politeness. I kept it simple. "I appreciate the calm," I replied. Her smile widened like she'd won something. "See? We can be normal. You just have to stop assuming the worst." I didn't take the bait. I cut the pancake for our kid. "I'm not assuming anything. I'm tracking patterns." Her eyes flashed. "That's not normal." "What's not normal?" I said, still calm. "Is you acting like my boundaries are an attack." She set her fork down a little too hard. "So now you're Mr. Boundaries." "I've always had them," I replied. "You just didn't notice because I was busy making life easy." She stood up. "I'm going to run some errands." "Okay," I said. "Take the car, or I'll take the kid to soccer." "Your call." That pause again. She wanted me to ask where she was going. She wanted me to chase. I didn't. She grabbed her keys. "I'll take my own car." "Great," I said. "Bring back milk if you remember." She left. The pancakes got cold. Our kid told me about a science project. I listened. I made a mental note. Her softness wasn't connection. It was a test. Monday brought the next escalation, public disrespect, casual, sharp, delivered like a joke so she could deny it later. There was a school meeting about the kids' after-school program. I went because I'm the parent who shows up. Nicole arrived late, wearing a bright smile like she was hosting a party. Mrs. Hensley, the coordinator, greeted us. "Nice to see you both." Nicole slipped her arm around mine for exactly 2 seconds. Then she leaned toward Mrs. Hensley and said, loud enough for me to hear, "He's been a little sensitive lately. Work stuff. You know how men get." I blinked once. I didn't flinch. I turned slightly toward Nicole, not to argue, but to make sure she understood I heard every word. I gave a small smile to Mrs. Hensley. We're good. I handle the schedule. Nicole's fingers tightened on my arm. She whispered through her smile, "Don't embarrass me." I whispered back, "Then don't try to use me as a punchline." Her eyes widened. That wasn't in her plan. The meeting ended. Outside, near the parking lot, she dropped the smile like it had expired. "What was that?" she demanded. "What was what?" I asked. "You correcting me." In front of her. I opened the car door for our kid and waited until the kid was inside. Then I looked at Nicole. "You made a joke at my expense in front of staff." "It was harmless," she said quickly. "You're so dramatic." I nodded. "Here's harmless. I'm picking up and dropping off from now on. You can show up when you feel like it, but you don't get to narrate me." Her jaw clenched. "You can't just decide that." "I can," I replied. "Watch me." That was initiative number 1 on Chijoy territory. Calm. Public. No arguing. A new rule. That night she came home and tried to flip the board again. She walked into the kitchen while I was packing the kids' lunch, and she spoke like she was giving me a performance review. "You've changed," she said. "You're colder." I didn't look up. "I'm clearer." She sighed dramatically. "I need space, Turner. I need to feel like I have my own life." "Then have it," I replied. "But don't expect me to sponsor it." She stared. "Sponsor it." I closed the lunchbox. "We share responsibilities. We don't share fantasies." Her nostrils flared. "You're accusing me of something." "I'm accusing you of disrespect," I corrected. "I don't need a bigger accusation. That one is enough." She stepped closer. "So what? You're going to leave." "I'm going to restructure," I said. "Leaving is a later decision." She scoffed. "You're acting like you're the boss of the house." "No," I replied. "I'm acting like a man who lives here." Then she tried a new angle, insult disguised as concern. "You've been eating alone. You've been quiet. Are you okay?" she asked, voice syrupy. I finally looked at her. "I'm great. I'm just not chasing you anymore." Her face fell for a fraction of a second before she rebuilt it. "I'm not asking you to chase me. I'm asking you to trust me." I tilted my head. "Trust isn't requested. It's earned." She threw her hands up. "This is exhausting." "Then stop creating it," I replied. She went silent, grabbed her phone, and walked away, tapping fast like she was reporting back to someone. That opened a new loop. Who is she performing for? The next day, I found the piece that made the whole picture click. Nicole had synced her calendar to our shared cloud months ago, so we could coordinate the kids' stuff. She'd forgotten it was still synced, or she assumed I never looked. Either way, it was sitting there in plain view, like she'd left the safe open and blamed the house for getting robbed. I was on my laptop at the kitchen table, adding the kids' dentist appointment, when her entries popped up. Meeting. Lunch. Training. Out of town. Neat. Generic. Like a life with no consequences. I clicked through. Dates. Cities. Blocks of time that didn't match the office. And there it was, 2 weeks back. Vacation, marked as regular work days on our family routine. She hadn't taken a day off. She'd taken days. In another city. With time carved out like she knew exactly what she was doing. I didn't slam the laptop. I didn't storm upstairs. I did what I promised myself. Facts. I started logging. Dates. Times. The gaps. Then I cross-checked against the bank alerts I'd glimpsed, the late arrivals, the don't touch me showers, the sudden need for freedom. After a couple weeks, I had enough to stop guessing forever. I printed the calendar pages. Clean. Black and white. Nothing dramatic. Then I made notes beside each entry, simple corrections based on reality. Meeting. Returned home 10:05 p.m. No call, no text. Lunch. Bank alert at 1:12 p.m. Location not near office. Training. Out of town block. Then I made an inventory folder. Household bills, kids' schedule, emergency contacts, the division of responsibilities I'd already been carrying. Not a threat. A transition plan. I put it all in a manila envelope and left it on the kitchen counter, right where she dropped her purse like she owned the air. She came home that evening and found it in seconds. "What's this?" she asked, too casual. "Open it." I replied, still stirring pasta sauce like my life wasn't shifting. She opened it, flipped through the pages, stopped. Her face drained slowly, like someone pulled the plug on her confidence. She shut the envelope and held it against her chest like she could hide it. "You were watching me?" Her voice cracked on watching. I wiped my hands on a towel. "No, you left the door open. I just walked through." "That's spying," she snapped louder now. That's reading, I corrected. We share a calendar. You forgot. That's not my crime. She swallowed hard. So what? You're keeping records now. I'm keeping reality, I replied. Since you've been handing me fiction. She stepped toward me. Eyes sharp again. You don't know what any of this means. I know what it doesn't mean, I said. It doesn't mean normal week. It doesn't mean The Office. And it doesn't mean I keep playing dumb so you can keep playing free. She slammed the envelope on the counter. You're making this into a disaster. I leaned in slightly, not aggressive, just present. It became a disaster when you decided I was optional. She opened her mouth, then stopped. Her gaze moved past me, toward the hallway, like she was calculating options. That was the kill turn. Not because I caught her in a single moment. Because I stopped being confused. Once a man stops being confused, the whole game dies. 2 days later, she tried to reset the board using our kid like a remote control. She showed up at my office parking lot around lunch, holding the kid's hand. Big smile. Soft voice. She looked like she'd rehearsed it in the mirror. Hey, she called, waving like we were a happy couple meeting for tacos. Ray saw her first from across the lot. He raised his eyebrows at me like, well, this should be entertaining. Nicole approached and crouched down beside our kid. We missed you, she said, loud enough for people to hear. Then she looked up at me with that look that said, play along or you'll look like the bad guy. I walked over, picked up our kid, and gave him a quick squeeze. Hey, buddy. Nicole stood and lowered her voice. Can we do this like adults? For him. I gave her a polite nod. We can do it like adults. That's the whole point. Ray wandered closer, hands in his pockets, pretending he wasn't listening. Ray doesn't pretend well. Nicole's smile tightened. I'm trying. You're being stubborn. I looked at her calmly. Trying would have been telling me you took time off. Trying would have been not walking in the house like I'm a nuisance. Trying would have been not turning me into a joke at school. Her cheeks colored. You're keeping score. I'm setting terms, I replied. Different sport. She glanced at Ray, then back to me. So you're humiliating me now. Ray finally spoke, deadpan. Ma'am, nobody's humiliating you. He's just not lying for you. Nicole's eyes flashed. This is between us. I nodded. Then stop bringing it to my job. She exhaled, then put on the soft voice again. Let's go home. We can fix this. I shifted the kid on my hip. He's coming home with me. You can come by later to talk. Not to perform. To talk. Her smile dropped. You don't get to decide that. I stared at her. I decide my availability. I decide my peace. And I decide what our kid sees. Ray added quietly, smart. Nicole's jaw tightened. She forced another smile for the kid. Okay, sweetheart. I'll see you later. The kid waved. Nicole watched us walk away like she was watching her plan fail in real time. At home that night, she attempted the second illusion of change. Bigger, sweeter, almost too much. She cooked my favorite meal. Set the table. Lit a candle like she'd just discovered romance existed. She even put on that soft voice again. I've been thinking, she said, sliding a plate in front of me. Maybe I got overwhelmed. Maybe I shut down. I don't want us like this. I chewed slowly, tasting the effort. I wasn't rude. I wasn't cruel. I was simply not hypnotized. This is nice, I said. Her eyes brightened. So we're okay? I set my fork down. We're calm. That's not the same thing. She reached across the table and put her hand over mine. Turner, please. I need you in my corner. I pulled my hand back gently and reached for my water. You had me in your corner for years. You treated it like a storage closet. Her face tightened. You're still punishing me. No, I replied. I'm just not resetting because you served dinner. She leaned forward, voice dropping. What do you want then? Respect, I said simply. Consistency. And no more secret schedules. She blinked. So you want me to report to you? I gave a short laugh. You love turning boundaries into control so you can feel oppressed. I want honesty, not permission slips. She stood up abruptly. This is impossible. I stayed seated. It's only impossible if you want freedom with benefits. She stared at me, chest rising and falling, then grabbed her phone and walked into the living room. I heard her typing again. A minute later, she came back with a new tactic, a demand. I'm going on a weekend trip, she said. I'm telling you now so you can't claim I hid it. I nodded once. Okay. She blinked, thrown off by the lack of reaction. Okay. Okay, I repeated. But the kid stays with me. And you cover your trip. Not from the joint account. Her eyes widened. Are you serious? I stood and carried my plate to the sink. Dead serious. You're cutting me off, she hissed. I'm separating, I corrected. You wanted freedom. Freedom comes with receipts. She stepped toward me, voice sharp. You're doing this to control me. I turned to face her. Nicole, you don't get to call it control every time you don't get your way. She sneered. You think you're so righteous. I think I'm done, I replied. That's all. Her expression shifted, anger to calculation, then to something colder. Fine, she said. If you're going to be like this, don't expect me to keep pretending. And that line, pretending, was the last thread she accidentally showed me. She wasn't fighting for us. She was fighting for the setup, my stability, her flexibility. The next week she pushed it further. She ignored the kids' schedule, skipped a pickup without warning, then showed up late and acted like I was the problem for being irritated. You're overreacting, she said in the driveway, tossing her bag in the back seat like it was nothing. I buckled our kid in first, then closed the door softly. I kept my voice level. You missed pickup. I got busy, she snapped. Things happen. Things happen, I agreed. So here's what happens next. I'm the primary contact for school, activities, everything. If you want time with him, you tell me the day before. Not the hour of. She stared like I'd slapped her. You can't do that. I can, I replied. And I am. She leaned closer. You're acting like I'm unreliable. I raised an eyebrow. You're acting like you are. She scoffed. This is ridiculous. You're turning our family into a schedule war. I nodded. Better a schedule than chaos. That night, I made the final move without drama. I packed a weekend bag. Not to run. To be ready. I moved into the guest room. I placed a simple note on the kitchen counter. House rules. Calm home for our kid. No late-night arguments. No surprise trips funded by shared money. Respectful communication only. If that doesn't work for you, make other living arrangements. No threats. No insults. Just terms. Nicole found it and laughed, but her laugh was thin. You're really doing this? She asked, standing in the doorway of the guest room. I looked up from folding a shirt. Yes. You think you can just demote me, she said. I'm not demoting you, I replied. I'm removing your access to me. She scoffed. You're so dramatic. I zipped the bag. You keep using that word. It's starting to sound like a prayer. Her face hardened. So what, you're leaving? I stood. Not tonight. But if you keep pushing, you'll be the one leaving. She laughed again, louder. You can't kick me out. I nodded slowly. I'm not kicking you out. I'm telling you the environment is changing. You decide if you can live with it. That's the difference between chaos and leadership. I wasn't asking for permission to protect my peace. The point of no return came on a Wednesday, simple and brutal. Nicole came home early for once. She walked into the kitchen while our kid was doing homework at the table. She looked at the homework, then looked at me, and said with a smile, "Must be nice. You get to play hero while I'm out actually doing something." Our kid looked up, confused. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't glare. I just set my mug down and stared at her until she felt the weight of her own words. "Repeat that," I said calmly. She blinked. "Oh my God, it's a joke." "It's not a joke to him," I replied, nodding toward our kid. "And it's not a joke to me." She rolled her eyes. "You're so sensitive." I walked to the table and put my hand on our kid's shoulder. "Go grab your backpack. We're going to the park." Our kid stood quickly, relieved to escape the tension. Nicole stepped in front of me. "You're not taking him away from me." "I'm taking him away from this," I replied. She scoffed. "This is pathetic." I held her gaze. "What's pathetic is you thinking you can chip at me in front of our kid and still live comfortably off the life I built." Her face tightened. "So now you're threatening me." "No," I said. "I'm informing you." I walked around her, grabbed the keys, and waited at the door while our kid put on shoes. Nicole followed me, voice rising. "You're acting like I'm some stranger." I opened the door. "You've been acting like one for weeks." At the park, I made a call to my sister. Not to gossip, to set logistics. "Hey," I said, "I might need a place for Nicole to stay for a bit. If she agrees. I'm not doing drama in the house anymore." My sister didn't ask for a whole story. She's known me my whole life. She just said, if she comes respectful, she can use the guest room. If she comes loud, she can use a hotel. "Fair," I replied. When we got back, Nicole was waiting like a judge. "You calling people about me now?" she asked. "I'm planning," I replied. "That's what adults do." She laughed, but her eyes were nervous. "You think you can just replace me?" "I'm not replacing you," I said. I'm removing the chaos. She stepped closer. You're really going to blow up our marriage over a few misunderstandings? I looked her in the eyes. It's not misunderstandings. It's a pattern. And you know it. She opened her mouth, then changed tactics one last time. Soft, pleading, almost believable. Turner, she said quietly, I don't want to lose this. I don't want to lose you. I paused for a second. Not because I was weak. Because I'm human. She saw it and tried to lean in. I can be better, she whispered. Just stop doing this. I nodded once. I believe you can act better. I don't believe you will. Her face tightened. That's cruel. It's honest, I replied. I walked to the counter, grabbed the manila envelope, and placed it between us. You want to keep this family? I asked. Then you live like you're in it. No secret travel blocks. No late-night cold shoulder. No jokes at my expense. No using our kid as a reset button. She swallowed. And if I don't? I kept my voice steady. Then you stay at my sister's for a while. You keep your freedom. I keep my home calm. And we parent like adults, not roommates at war. She stared at the envelope like it was poison. Then she looked at me, and for the first time, her confidence cracked fully. You're serious, she said. I nodded. I've never been more serious. She tried one last push. You're going to regret this. I smiled slightly. That's your favorite line when you don't have control. Nicole stood there, breathing hard, then turned and walked upstairs. I heard drawers open. A suitcase rolled. No screaming. No drama. Just consequences landing. An hour later, she came down with a bag. Our kid was on the couch watching a show, unaware of the adult math happening in the kitchen. Nicole stopped at the doorway and looked at me like she expected a final argument. I didn't give her one. I gave her a boundary. Your access to me, I said quietly, is by respect now, not by habit. She blinked, lips pressed tight, and walked out. The house felt lighter, not happy, not magical, just calm, like the air finally belonged to the people living in it. Over the next month, I kept doing the boring work that saves your life. I handled school. I handled meals. I handled my projects at work. I kept my money where it belonged. Nicole visited our kid on scheduled days, usually trying a different mask each time, friendly, irritated, overly sweet. But the power was gone because I wasn't negotiating my dignity anymore. One afternoon, she showed up with coffee and a smile like nothing happened. Look at us, she said brightly. We're doing so much better. I took the coffee, set it on the counter, and didn't drink it. We're doing clearer, I corrected. Don't confuse that with closeness. She frowned. You're still holding this over me. I'm holding my standards, I replied. By the time spring rolled around, I was sleeping better, eating better, laughing with my kid more. My home stopped feeling like a place where I had to earn peace. And Nicole? She stopped acting like she was above consequences. Not because she became a new person, because she ran into a man who finally stopped bending. A year later, my life looked cleaner than it had in a long time. New place, quiet, organized mind. Same job, better position, more control over my time. A decent truck that starts every time and doesn't apologize for existing. A small circle of friends who don't feed drama. And yes, eventually, a woman who speaks like an adult and treats respect like oxygen, not a bargaining chip. Nicole stayed in the background of my life the way she earned it. Limited access, clear schedule, no special privileges. From what I heard through mutual connections, her freedom got expensive fast. Turns out when you're not living off someone else's stability, life gets real. And real doesn't care about your moods. I didn't win because I hurt her. I won because I stopped letting her hurt me. And if you take anything from this, take this. The moment you stop negotiating your dignity, the whole dynamic changes. Not with shouting, not with threats, with decisions. Here are the lessons, plain and useful. First, early signals matter. When someone suddenly changes routines, comes home cold, dodges simple questions, and treats you like an inconvenience, don't communicate harder. Don't chase. Don't beg for warmth. Observe, document mentally, and tighten your boundaries. I didn't need a dramatic confrontation to see the pattern. I needed a clear head and a willingness to admit what I was watching. Second, your best move is initiative. I didn't wait for permission to protect my time and my home. I restructured the schedule, became the reliable parent by default, and separated money in a calm, adult way. The mistake would have been endless talks, hoping the right words would unlock respect. Words don't fix a power game. New rules do. Third, Don't fall for sudden sweetness if it appears right after you set a boundary. Nicole's soft mornings and candlelit dinners weren't real change. They were an attempt to restore control. The mistake would have been relaxing fully and handing her the steering wheel again. I accepted calm without buying the story. Bottom line, comfort is nice, but respect is non-negotiable. If someone wants the benefits of your stability while treating you like an obstacle, you don't need to punish them. You need to remove access. Calmly, clearly. And once you do that, you'll be shocked how fast your life starts feeling like yours again. That's the end of the story. And since you're here, you must have enjoyed it. Why not subscribe to the channel so you don't miss future videos? Thanks, and have a nice day.